All right, today we're going to explore using Microsoft Word. If you do not have Word drug down here on your dock, I'll show you one more time how to do that real quickly. The rest of you, just bear with us. Go to Applications. In the Applications, go to the M's. Here's Microsoft Word. I would grab it, drag it down to my dock, and release it. I'm going to go ahead and launch Microsoft Word. So you might be asking, why are we using Word over Docs? Hopefully by the end of the time that we work in Word, you will have an idea as to why that is. And then you can give some solid feedback on whether or not you like Word or Google Docs better. So we're going to always start with a blank document. Remember, never sign in. We do not have Microsoft 365 accounts. So we're going to start all of our documents as blank documents. There are a lot of templates. I don't use them for anything because I'm much faster at creating something from scratch. You're more than welcome to peruse through them on your own time and find something that you want to use. So, blank document. Remember, the first thing that we should always do is save, file, save as. Remember, you're going to want to search out and find your Tech 101 folder. If you do not have a Tech 101 folder, make sure you're in your documents, new folder. Oops, sorry, I bet you don't see that. To make that show up, you have to click on this little down arrow. Make sure if yours says this, that means you're doing an online location. We don't have access to save online, so it should be on my Mac, so you should see the word online locations. So technically when you see that, then you're actually on your Mac. I know it's a little bit confusing. So documents is where we're going to go. And again, your Tech 101 folder. If you don't have a Tech 101 folder, choose a new folder and call it Tech 101. I'm just going to put in quarter 2, block 1, or quarter 2, because I have quarter 2 classes now, not quarter 1. So I'm going to hit create. Now I make sure that it shows the actual folder that I'm looking for. Remember, you name all files with the first letter of your first name. Mine's Natasha, and then Olsenowski, and then you name it a name that makes sense, that relates to what the document is. And this is going to be a lost flyer. Okay, so we're going to start out with this document. What you should always do when you're designing a document is you should put all of the details in first, and then go back and format. And remember, format is changing the way it looks, and that's when you would change fonts and colors and add all the extras to it. So get the details in first, then go ahead and make it look beautiful afterwards. So we're going to have a lost animal of some sort. I'm going to do a lost dog. You can do any type of lost animal that you want to do. It doesn't have to be a dog. You can have a lost pink elephant if you want, or a lost turtle, or a lost hyena. It's up to you. You cannot have any lost people. Yes, I know people are animals. You cannot have a lost brother or sister. I'm sorry. So some type of lost animal, okay? Now remember, titles. Titles are always all caps or initial caps. I like to use initial caps myself, so you see the capital L, the capital D. Remember, if you would rather do all caps for a title, that is fine. Do not mess with text right now, other than typing it in. Now, you will notice I have turned on my Show Hide button, this little black backwards P. That's why I see this little blue marker there. I'm going to leave that turned on. That's an important tool. I like to use that to help me visualize things. Okay? So I'm going to return once and twice. Notice I'm just typing in regular size 12 font. All right, we're going to put in a paragraph of information. A paragraph is constituted by having anywhere between 3 to 5 sentences. That's English rules, and I'm at work today. I will be following the English rules, so keep that in mind. So you can copy this exact paragraph that I have, or you can make up your own paragraph. Just make sure you're following the proper English rules and having at least 3 sentences. So here we go. Adorable, loving, well-behaved, dog was lost near Harts Park on, what's the date today? November 18th. Now, notice when I start typing in November, it gives me a little pop-up. If I press return, it puts the actual full month in there. Take advantage of those things. When I hit space, again, it pops up saying, do you want the full month, day, year? Yeah, so press enter. Take advantage of those typing shortcuts, because most of you probably aren't very fast typers, and that's a very useful tool. He is dearly missed by 3 children who don't have any other friends. There will be a $5 reward for his return. Okay, so with this paragraph, I want to point out some very specific things to you. Notice Harts Park is capitalized, right? It's a proper noun. We capitalize proper nouns. Notice I spelled out the word 3 right here. The grammar rule is any numbers that are less than 10 in a sentence should be spelled out. So notice I spelled out the word 3. If it was 10 or more, then I could use the numerical value. If it's a sentence that has both a number less than 10 and a number greater than 10, or 10 and greater, then you could use numerical values for both of those numbers. Okay? I will be looking that you have 3 sentences. So I see 1 period, 2 periods, 3 periods, definitely have 3 sentences. So again, you can change and make a different paragraph if you so choose, or you can just write down this paragraph. Okay, I'm going to return a couple of times. I want to list a few details about my animal, okay? Now, when you're listing details, you should probably use a list. And up here, up on the ribbon, we have 3 different types of lists. There's bulleted, there's numbered, and then there's multi-level. So when you're listing things about your pet, those should easily be bulleted, because it doesn't matter their order. They can be in any order. If it was something where you had to rank the order, then you would use a numbered list. So the bullets that will show up are just the plain circle bullets, and anybody can do a plain circle bullet. And what you want to do is you want to separate your document from others. And so what we're going to do, and what you're required to do, is you need to define a new bullet. Define a new bullet. Okay? And in the middle, choose bullet. And right here in the symbols, you can see that there are a lot of different bullets. And if you click and hold on to them, you can see that that makes them larger. Now, I'm not going to find any animals here, but if I choose this down arrow and come down to where it says web dings, there are animals in this group somewhere right here. Okay, so there is a bird, there is a little chipmunk, fish, cat, dog, and that's it. Now, if you pick a different animal, if you had an elephant or whatever it was, something else, obviously you can't use one of these animals. Oh, there's a spider, an insect if you lost a spider. So what you can do is go down to wingdings 2 or wingdings 3. All of those have some decorative types of symbols. Wingdings 2 is where I kind of like to go to as my default. I like to use different like asterisks, and they have some really pretty ones showing up in there. Okay, I'm a fan of a lot of those. So that's what you need to do, is if you can't find a bullet that relates to whatever animal it is that you lost, then choose a decorative one. Now, since mine's about a dog, I'm going to go ahead and choose a dog. Okay, so your bullet must relate to the information, and if it doesn't relate, then find one that's decorative. Don't pick, for instance, if you have a lost pig, don't pick an alien head as your bullet. If it doesn't make sense, you will lose points. All right, so here's my lost dog, little picture. Let's start typing in details. So my dog is going to be a black lab. They have a blue collar. They come to the name of Chet. And they are very friendly. Okay, now it automatically changed that spelling for me, but oh well. Let's try spell a word wrong here, okay? So remember, when you see something underlined in red, that is a spelling error. If it's underlined in blue, that's a grammatical error. Remember, you can just right click. So if I hold down my control key and click right on the red underlined word, it brings up a shortcut menu and then gives me a suggestion for how to change that spelling. If you don't want to change them individually, remember at the top up here on the toolbar, you can use, or the quick access toolbar, you can use the spell checker. If yours doesn't currently show up, you just choose this little down arrow and then choose the spelling and grammar. Now, notice with my bullets, there is a slight issue, and I'll talk to you about that here. On this one, notice I have black lab, capital B, capital L. But I come down to here and I did blue collar, capital B, but lowercase. Here I did capital and lowercase. Either way is acceptable. You just cannot mix them together. So, looks like I'm doing mostly lowercase, so I need to make this one lowercase. Be consistent with how you format and make things look. Now you might say, why is Chet capitalized? Well, because Chet's a proper name. So if you want to use initial caps on your bullets, that's perfectly fine. Also notice my bullets are very short and sweet and to the point. They are not sentences. So instead of saying, he is a black lab, I just wrote black lab. I didn't say, he is wearing a blue collar. I just wrote blue collar. Okay? Well, I probably should put comes to the name of Chet. So bullets, a bulleted list, those are short statements. They should definitely not be sentences. Okay, so I've got those details listed in there. I'm going to return a few times. The more you return, it gets rid of the bullets and then it comes back out. And now I have some contact information, right? How are people going to get a hold of me? Please call. Please put in your first and last name and your phone number right there with any details, and that is a sentence. Okay, so here's the basic information that I want, and if I zoom way out, you're like, well, there's a lot of room left on the page. Yep, don't worry, we're going to work on that. Obviously, the thing that you really want to have on there, if at all possible, is a picture. So we're going to go out and find a picture. But before we go out to the internet, I want you to try use a different feature. So if you come to the Insert tab up here on the ribbon and do Get Add-ins, and it might just show your store too. Okay, so this is where I'm at, is the store. Search for Pexels, P-E-X-E-L-S. Pexels, okay? And mine is already opened, but you'll want to add it, is what you're going to want to do, okay? Pexels. Now, there will be a few of you where Pexels will not work. It's very random, and I have yet to figure out why it doesn't work for some, but it works for the majority of people. So if your Pexels doesn't work, I apologize. Yes, go out to the internet and find a picture. But I like to use Pexels because then I'm already in the program. I don't have to close a tab and drag and drop. So that's why I really prefer to go this route, if at all possible. Another reason why I use Pexels is it's because they are free stock photos, right? So if I search for dog, and if you search for black lab, that gets to be a little bit too specific sometimes, and they don't come up with results. Labrador. That might be better if I did Labrador. We'll see. I don't even know. Yeah, that one was better. So, so if you can be a little bit more specific, but if you just, I remember before if I put black lab, I don't think I got very good results. So there's a few pictures, pretty simple and easy. Here's a great looking dog photo. So I just click on it once and wait for a moment, and it adds it in. And then I can just go ahead and close out of Pexels. So grab a picture either in Pexels, or you can go out to the internet. So what are the rules about pictures? What do we need to do with these pictures? So quite a few different things. The first thing is your picture shouldn't be any larger than about a third of your page, okay, for these purposes. So no bigger than a third. You can see that mine's probably a good half of the size of the page. So I'm going to drag from the corners. Remember, you always resize from the corners. That way you don't get a long and skinny dog or a really wide and fat dog. It stays all proportional. So always drag from the corners, Okay, that's an important feature. Then, I really want to move my picture in other locations, but I'm pretty limited. There is a feature that will help you overcome that. So with the picture selected, click on the Picture Format tab up at the top, Picture Format, and then you're going to get a whole list of choices. The most important thing that you do with pictures is change the wrap text. By changing the wrap text, I can move this picture anywhere I want on the page. Right now, it's pretty rigid on how it moves. So I'm just going to do, this time I'm going to choose top and bottom, so it's going to place text only above the picture and below the picture. And these little pictures show you, right? Tight, the words would go all around it, same thing with square, but I want only text to be above it and below it. So that's why I'm choosing top and bottom. As soon as I choose top and bottom, notice I can move this picture anywhere I feel like it. And for this assignment, I want to put mine in the center, okay? In the center is where I want it. Now, to make that better, if I do position like this, center, center, but that's the true center, but I'm not really liking that. Let's see, is there a better way? No more layout options. Oh, we'll go with it for now, but I'm going to move it straight up here and then come back. My text wrapping changed. I still like top and bottom. So that's about where my center of my page is, right there. Okay? Alignment. I bet you here too, I could align this center. Then I know I'm in the center under alignment. Okay, so let's talk about the picture. There's lots of other things you can do with the picture. For instance, you could go ahead and crop it. Here's my crop tool. Okay, now remember, cropping cuts it away. So I could grab any one of these squares, right, and cut parts of the picture away. I also have that same feature that we had in Google Drawing, where if I click this drop down arrow right next to the crop, I can crop it to a shape. So maybe instead of a square, I want it to be a circle or a pretty heart of my favorite dog that's missing. Okay, I'm going to leave mine square. I'm going to undo it, but just so you know, you can do that. Okay, we should almost always use a border. And if you look up here, the pencil with the underline, that's a border, picture border. That's the same symbol you'll see in Google Drawing too as your border icon. So they try and keep things very similar. Now, what color you choose does matter, okay? Remember, we're going to stick with the same 3 color rule as always. And you want things to complement your photo, okay? Now, my photo currently has green and black and this red down in here. Okay, so I want to use some of those colors to help complement. So black would be a great complementary color right now. Red, probably not green because there's a lot of green already happening. So as much as I don't like to use red, I probably will use red this time. Now, how do I know what color red it is? Well, if you come all the way down to more outline colors, okay? And you come down here to the eyedropper and choose the eyedropper. So I clicked right on that eyedropper. I can come over and bring my eyedropper right on top of this page and find the exact color of red that I want to use to help complement and click on it. And there is that red. It's this deep red, and maybe I want to choose a little bit different red. It's pretty deep colored. Maybe a little bit brighter, maybe that red. Okay. Now, if your color picker gets stuck behind your computer, that happens sometimes behind another page, if you just do Command Tab, for instance, and click on Finder, and then do Command Tab and go back to Microsoft Word, then that color picker should pop back open. Now with that color selected, you can barely see the border. It's always very tiny. So I come back to that borders button, choose the down arrow, and I come down to weight. And I always bump up my weight. I like it 6 myself. Okay. You can change the dashes if you want or make it dotted. I'm going to stick with a solid line myself. Okay. Now I'm going to be using this color as one of my 3 main colors. Okay, so I'm going to use it in other features and places as we work through this assignment. I don't feel like this is center though. I'm going to move this back a little bit more this way. Okay. So other things that you can do with pictures, you can change the lightness or the darkness of them. I could actually remove the background on this picture, remove the background, and then it would just be that dog, which probably if I kept those changes wouldn't look really that great. But in some pictures, if you have the full animal, it looks pretty cool. I'll Command Z to undo that. I can make it colors, which I'm not going to. Please stay away from the artistic effects, because if we want somebody to find the animal, they have to be able to see them really well. Okay? So basically those are the main things you need to do with your picture. I'm pretty happy with the way it looks. Now we're ready. We've got all the information in there. We've got a title, we've got some descriptions, we've got contact information, we've got a picture. So now we're ready to format and change up how everything looks. And so if you notice, I zoomed way out, right? I 2-finger pinch and I zoomed way out so I can see the whole page. We want all of this to stick on one page. If you were doing a flyer, right, you would post it around town, you would put up pictures, and you only want it on one page. So looking at this one page, what should be the largest font? Hopefully you say the title. So I'm going to come up here and click just to the left of it. I have an arrow that's slanted to the right. That'll select that whole line. Okay? We can use this increase font, and I'm going to increase it up pretty large, and so it might be faster just to choose, like 48 or 72, whatever you want. You can also just type the number in here. Maybe I want to do 65, right? I can just type in 65. Now remember, we want titles to stand out, so you should adjust at least 3 different things on this title. I would definitely stay away from these effects, okay? A lot of times on printers, not all printer drivers will handle them well. It causes more problems than it helps. So stay away from the effects. I know that they're sometimes kind of cool, but you run into printing issues, okay? So if you want to make it bold, go ahead. If you want to change the style of the font, change the style of the font. Right here, I got a big old, oh, that one's not good. I can't read that one very well. Let's do Britannic, right? You can center it. Ooh, I can see that I need to move this over a little bit more like it was. Anyways, after centering it, you can also change the color of it, right? If I want it to match. Okay. So make your title stand out, right? Make your title stand out. Then you have to think about your design and what would be the second largest thing on the page, okay? So the second largest thing that should be on the page is your contact information. So I just click to the left again, select all my contact information, and I'm going to bump up this size. And let's say I want to leave it at 18, okay? Oh, that's the wrong red. I got to change that. I'll come back to that. Size 18, right? Now, I can't do size 18 here because what happens is it pushes one word all by itself on the page. And what that is called is it's called an orphan, right? A child that's all by themselves, that's an orphan. Nobody wants to be an orphan. It's the same thing here. You don't want to ever leave one word all by itself. So I definitely need to bump this up, okay? Now, can I bump it up and leave it at size 24? Hopefully you say no, because notice at size 24, it is now broken my phone number into 2 lines. Anything that belongs together should stay together, and so a phone number should stick all together as one. So I either need to push up and make it even larger, which it hasn't moved it to 2 lines yet. What I can do then is just manually override it by clicking before the number and hitting return. So make sure you keep things together that belong together. I'm going to center this as well. Okay, now let's go back to my last dog. Sorry about that. I changed the color to red, but this is the red down here in the recent colors that I should be using because that's the red that comes directly from my border. I apologize for that. Okay, now the rest of the information here, and I'm going to pull this dog below my paragraph so that kind of breaks it up. Okay, the rest of the text, right, stick with 3s. So my title is 1 size, my contact information is a 2nd size, and everything else will be my 3rd size, right? Stick in 3s. So I'm going to increase this until I fill up and use most of the page. When I clicked on it now, notice my name went to the 2nd line. So I want to undo that. Okay, and I can move this down. All right. Looking pretty sharp. Now notice up here in my paragraph, I have now created an orphan again, okay? So what I need to do is change the size of that font, okay? Which then causes more problems. So then, because that's gonna push this down, but if I rerouted it, kind of worked okay. That's size 20, so I gotta make sure this is size 20, and that will probably push it down. So I can do a number of different things to bring that back up. I could change the page margins, but I don't want to. So why don't I just go ahead and make my title a little bit smaller, okay? Right, we wanna keep things, oh, let's go down, not 48, let's do 55, Is that better? Nope. All right, 50. Okay, so we wanna keep it all on one page. I'm just adjusting this up a little bit, down a little bit. We wanna be consistent with how things look, right? I wanna have about the same amount of space before and after, if at all possible. This gets a little close here. I'm gonna do a second return. Now, just hang with me. Right there. I got a return above, a return below. My name is still too far down there, so I can just go ahead and select this and make it a little bit smaller. That'll probably help me out. Okay, so be consistent, right? So the amount of space above my picture is about the same as the amount below, right? The amount of space I have at the top of the page should be consistent with the amount of space below my page. Look at the space here is about the same between my title and my paragraph. Be consistent with your white space, okay? That's really important. The last thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and put a page border on, okay? Up here on your ribbon is your borders button, borders. And you might want an outside border, but let's go all the way down because that will give us some more choices, some more options. Borders and shading. And again, I said I wanted a page border, so I got to choose this, page border. And then you want to work from left to right and top to bottom, just like you read a book. So start over on the left, box, choose the style next, whatever style you want to use. Then choose the color. Yes, use the same color you used for the picture border. Be consistent. Width, I always make mine larger. It's usually pretty tiny. Never ever use art. Art is not professional and it doesn't look good and it definitely doesn't print well either. Don't do that. And then of course you can see you have your border all the way around. Hit OK. Now I've got a nice looking border. So here I have it. I am done. I'm going to make sure I hit that save button. I probably should have done that a couple of times, but Word does do some auto saving, so that's a good feature. Remember, you might want to run your spell check one more time to make sure everything's spelled properly. I don't necessarily see any red errors anywhere. I can see that Hearts Park got moved to 2 different lines, and Hearts Park should be together because it's one thing. So I'm going to just hit a return there to push it down. Okay? So once you're done, save that. Save that.